Hey friends, this is Sean Washburn from YourExcelTutor.com, and you're watching 30 Tips in 30 Days, and we're almost at the end. And today we're going to have a little fun with conditional formatting and developer tools. I just want to show you how you can start to put some of these multiple different things together to give you one output that can be really cool. So if you've seen the previous tips, you've seen this table before. This is just, it's a table of some dimensions that were taken of some parts. And what I did here is multiple different things, but the goal here was to see, I applied some conditional formatting, and we'll start there. So you see some of these are red. If you go to conditional formatting and you go to manage rules, you can see that there is a rule in here, and the rule says basically if the cell value is greater than L1, so here's L1 right there, it's 0.35 right now. If it's greater than L1, then make it red, and it applies to this whole table from here down to the bottom corner. So it's going to look at L1, and pretty straightforward. That's going to make it red if it's greater than that. So that part's not that big of a deal. But what I did, and you can do that, and you can just do that and change L1. But I added some things in that this is kind of what I get into when I'm working on files, is I want to make it as easy as possible to make changes and update and visually see those changes. So what I did, if you click on L1, you'll see that there's a formula in here. So this formula, we'll click in there, is saying, you look over here, there's two radio buttons, and it's saying basically if the radio button 1 is pressed, then, which will give a 1 here, we'll show that in a second, then go ahead and give me this value. If 2 is pressed, give me this value. So all it's doing is basically I've got that cell pointing over to these two cells right here, and the top one is going to let me use this slider, and I'll show you where I got all this stuff here in a second. And the bottom one will be just manual. So this one I could put in, you can see it's just a straight value, whereas this top one is using a formula and other things. So to start with, where did I get these radio buttons? What are they for? Well, radio buttons, what they do is if you ever used any kind of form online, a Google form or any kind of survey, a radio button lets you pick between multiple options, and that's what these do too. So to get those, if you don't have the developer tab yet, we talked about this in a previous tip, but you can go to customize ribbon and then come down here and you'll click this developer tab on, which mine's already on, and then you can come back in here and click the tab, and you'll see that there is this toolbox. So you click in the toolbox and you'll click this radio button like that, and then you just click and drag and it drops right in there. You can change the text on there. If you right click on it and go to format control, you can change which cell it's tied to. So what I did is, with the ones I have, I brought them in and I tied them to this cell here, N3, and you'll notice this one, when I brought it in, it wanted to do the same thing. So radio buttons, if you've never used them, as you keep adding more, they're all going to want to act like you only have one multiple choice out of all of them. So there's a way to do it where you can have multiple groupings of them. We won't get into that here. You have to use some other means to do that. But in this case, as you add more in, like if I click this, it's going to go to 3. So it just automatically ties it in, assumes that you want it to be with the other ones. So I brought in 2 radio buttons, and I labeled one of them 1 and one of them 2, and then I made both of them point down to this cell right here. So that's that part. Then over here, what I did was, this is a slider, and the idea here is that I wanted to be able to drag this and have this stuff update. And so the slider's in the same area. If you go to insert, you can click this slider here, right, and click that. You can make it either way you want it, vertical or horizontal. And then once you have it in there, let's go back this way. Okay, once you have it in there, you can, right off the bat, you can slide it, but it's not doing anything right now. So you'd have to right click on it, go to format, and then it gives you these options. So you set, what I did with mine is You can go in here. Let's delete this. You right click on mine. Try that again. All right, there we go. So I have it set to minimum value of 0. It can only go in increments of 1. So that's why I have this set up a certain way here, because these values in my table are from 0 up to 1. So there's no integers there, and these have to be integers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It can't be 0.6 or whatever. So the way the slider's working is it can go 0 to 100 by ones, and then if I click in the spaces, it'll go up by tens. And then I have it tied to P1, which is this value right here, this cell, and 3D shade, just kind of how it looks. So what it lets me do is, I knew that I wanted, here's how this works. If I click on 1, now this value is going to look here. And I want it to be from 0 to 1, and the only way to do that is to put this formula in. So I basically say, okay, I'm going to have this slider that's going from 0 to 100. I'm going to multiply this value by 0.01 to take me down into that 0 to 1 range. And as I'm doing this, I just realized there's 1.5, so that one is definitely not in that same range. But so what this lets me do is, I can come down here, I can pick a number, say 0.7, and I can do it manually, or I can click here and I can use this slider, and as I drag it, you'll see it automatically update, which I think is, that's what I love to do. What can I put in place that's going to make it as easy as possible? There's some, just like any automation, there's some upfront work, but the return on your investment of that time is more than worth it once you use that file over and over, because I can come in and do this. I can change it. Okay, I want to look at, let's say 0.2. I could do 0.2 here too real easily. I could come down like this. I could click like that, incrementally go up. But what I love is it just lets me quickly, section through. And there's other ways you could do it. You could do it by just about anything, any way you want to do that. But this is just a basic way. I just wanted to show you how to start to combine different things that we've used in these tips. So in this case, conditional formatting, some formulas, some developer tools, and you can start to put them all together like, pieces of a puzzle to give you an end result. And then once you have this once, what I do a lot of times, once I've created something, if it was more complex, then the next time I go to make a file, I'll either copy that file or or refer back to what I did before, because I want to make sure that I do all the same things, I don't miss anything. So yeah, just wanted to show you that, some fun ways you can start to combine these things as you get to know them better. And I'd love to know what kind of stuff that you're doing too. So you can leave a note in the comments, and I'd love to just talk to you about that. And if you're able to try some of this, let me know what you do. Maybe pop a screenshot over or whatever. It'd be great to see. So thanks, and check in tomorrow. We got 2 tips left in this 30 tips in 30 days, and I'm looking forward to it. See you then.